Hey everyone, Jim Matthews here, President and CEO of the Rail Passengers Association. I'm in Toledo. Last night I took the Lakeshore Limited here because I'm speaking at a roundtable hosted by Congresswoman Capter on Midwest rail service. But I want to talk to you today about new train cars. It's been less than a month since Amtrak first showed members of the public some broad brush conceptual ideas for how to incorporate the needs of the disability community into its replacement plans for long-distance equipment. And it didn't take long for people to misinterpret what they heard, what they read, what they saw, in order to write off the whole idea. And that's really too bad, because Amtrak's trying pretty hard here to do a better job for the disability community. And a lot of those folks rely on Amtrak as their only practical way to travel long distance. So let's start with the first of many basic misunderstandings I've seen in public commentary since last month's hearing. The train sets are permanently coupled. No, they aren't. Don't skip over the word semi in all the materials because it's important. Semi-permanently coupled. That was the very first question I asked when I spoke to Amtrak about it, how they plan to handle seasonal demand and mechanical issues and all the other ups and downs that happen. And they absolutely can and will add cars or sets of cars as needed to increase capacity to handle seasonal surges. That's something they don't have enough equipment to do well today. They'll also buy enough cars so that they won't need to rob one route to increase capacity on the other. So many misunderstandings. And no, this isn't the design. It's just a broad concept, a way of telling industry that Amtrak would like to be able to do the things that these sketches show. It'll be up to the actual design engineers at whatever manufacturer wins the competition to sort out how they'll execute the concept. And one way to win is going to be finding the best way to bring these kinds of ideas to life. Now, another myth. Amtrak didn't consult with anyone before they did this. Well, actually, yes, they did. They consulted with a specialist engineering firm in the UK with current contemporary expertise in passenger rail, not airlines. Amtrak also spent a year surveying the manufacturers to find the boundaries of what is and is not feasible. Now, that's done. They'll conduct a competitive process to award the actual contract next year. The request for information process resulted in several responses from a whole range of manufacturers, names you'd recognize and maybe some of them you wouldn't. Now, the request for proposals and negotiation and contract award will take place next year. Is that much later than I would like? Yes, it's embarrassingly late. This should have happened many, many years ago. But in the absence of an H.G. Wells time machine, we have to accept that this is the timeline we're on. Now, all that said, we think it's now time for Amtrak to show an appropriate sense of urgency and get moving on this procurement. And we're not the only ones. When I speak to congressional offices, pro-Amtrak offices, they all tell me the same thing. They're seeing a leisurely pace when it comes to taking advantage of the opportunity they created when they did the bipartisan infrastructure law in 2021. Now, here is what is true. New long-distance equipment designs are late out of the barn, and it's time to pick up the pace. Refurbishing and refreshing existing superliners is acceptable as a stopgap measure, but it doesn't provide either the level of attractiveness or the capacity we need to really grow service at the scales envisioned in the bipartisan infrastructure law. In fact, so far, Amtrak hasn't shown that it has the capacity to get existing cars that are laid up in Hialeah or Beech Grove or other spots around the country out onto the road delivering service. Today's timeline for fielding new rolling stock is far too long, and Amtrak needs to find clever ways to accelerate design and delivery which don't cut corners or compromise safety. But these new concepts, which Amtrak is using to try to make all of the train's amenities available to all kinds of passengers, are a sincere, good start. And frankly, people get mad when Amtrak doesn't start a process to buy new equipment, and now they get mad when they do. Well, be mad if you like, but this is a good faith effort, and we should support it, as long as they make sure that it's done right and it's done quickly.